This is now about how you use what you've learned to do better business. So how you talk to customers and suppliers for that matter to engage them better and ultimately get more business and more repeat business and better volume is going to depend on a number of factors. What you say, how you say it, and how that sits against these policies and actions that you've been doing. So there are some do's and don'ts, and I've talked more today about greenwash than yesterday, but several times about this sort of concept of painting something very colourful and rosy and good, but underneath not doing any of those things, so just using it as a smokescreen. And there are some pitfalls that you need to be aware of when you're working on sustainability that you could fall into. And there are 10 indicators of greenwash coming up, and it might be interesting when you go back to the business to have a look at what you've got on your website, in your brochures, information that you give out to people, what you can identify in here. And you'll find some. So this is the first one, fluffy language, eco-friendly. That means something different to you probably, as it means to me, as it means to you, as it means to you. We all have our own understanding of what that means, and it doesn't really mean a great deal, to be honest. Eco-friendly. So it's just very fluffy, it's nonsense to use it. And it's just a smokescreen really, because it doesn't say anything. That gives us no indication at all as to what it is. Eco-friendly. Eco-assured is the same sort of thing. This Chevron, remember, inherently dirty company, but they might produce or do something that's good, okay? And they spend a lot of time and effort promoting that to make them look a really good company, when in fact underneath it they can't avoid being a dirty company because it's the nature of the business. So again, it's better not to get involved in that, trying to colour it. Just try to show people how you limit the impact. Suggestive pictures, I mean, what a load of rubbish is this, you know? Fragrant flowers coming out of the back of a car. I don't know whenever that happens, unless somebody's stuck petals in the back of one when somebody's getting married. It's a common thing to do in the UK, although it can be a bit dangerous, is to attach things to the back of people's cars and shove things up the exhaust and all sorts of things like that. This one, irrelevant claims. So look at this. Everything is perfect. Yeah, exactly. When you're taking one small thing when everything else isn't. There's a good example of that with some of the large companies actually that I've worked with in the past, where they do something that's really good actually, like they collect money from customers to buy a hybrid vehicle that they then donate to a village, which is then used to take local school children to school. I mean, that's fantastic. That's about community support and development and inclusion, giving back. But then if you talk about that, to try and use that as a means of showing people that you are sustainable or green, but actually the transport you pick people up from in the airport with isn't so good, or your general transport across the programme is pretty crap, then this is just nonsense. It's just tokenism, and that's greenwash. Best in class, well that's interesting if everybody else is dreadful. It just means that you are not quite as dreadful as everybody else. So be careful about making those sort of statements. We are the best. You see it all the time. We are the best. Yeah, the best of the bottom of the pile. Just not credible. Eco-friendly cigarettes. Who ever heard of it? Well, we've got a double whammy here anyway. Eco-friendly, we don't know what that is. But trying to make out that something that's not particularly good for you is environmentally friendly in some sort of a way. Absolute nonsense. Gobbledygook, people use this all the time, although in some countries now the trade descriptions laws have taken into account some of this, so you are not allowed to use some of these words if they are giving misleading messages. But people often use things like laboratory tested on products. Laboratory tested, well, in what laboratory? What tests? How? How significant were they? You often see it, they still do it on adverts for toothpaste in the UK. Clinical trials proved that, blah, 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 blah. You know, you also see it with things in tinned cat food for some reason. People say 9 owners out of 10 prefer this cat food. Well, do they eat it themselves? I don't know. It's a similar sort of thing. Imaginary friends or associations. This is the certified. Well, what does that mean? Certified. Certified by what? By who? For what? When? Why? It doesn't mean anything. It's just imaginary. An endorsement that you've just chosen out of thin air. You see this a lot. Next time you go to the supermarket, you have a look on some products, because it's not just sustainability that products are certified for. They're certified for health and safety, and all manner of things. Quality. You see quality assured stamped on something, but you look on it, you can't find any labels or anything.
Just a question, when you go to the supermarket, do you go mad? Or when you see all those products over there?
I wear dark glasses and I just choose what I know off the shelf. When I stay in hotels, it's a bit of a nightmare, because my background, which I didn't share with you yesterday, is originally in health and safety. So of course, when I walk into a hotel, I've got health and safety and sustainability coming at me from all corners. So when I go on holiday, it's really difficult to switch off, let me tell you. I walk around the hotel checking fire escapes, I look at the swimming pool. If I can see a way of getting into the kitchens without being noticed, I'm in. It's hard work, let me tell you. So, if you say something but you've got no evidence, then that's just another example of greenwashing. Remember, evidence is really important. Outright lies which make claims, so you know that it's a lie, obvious form of greenwash. So people see through all of these. You don't fool people. It just makes you look stupid, really. Here's an example of a fictitious, I have to say, airline. Fly Green Jet, even the name is giving you some illusion. And look at this strapline, and erase your carbon footprint. That's a physical impossibility, because once you've got your footprint, it's there. You can never get rid of it, unless somehow you can suck it out of the air. Carbon sequestration, I suppose we've got that, but it won't go for your personal footprint, it'll go for everybody's. Travel with GreenJet, the low-carbon airline. We're planting trees, so you can fly as often as you please. It's not just travelling we think about. All our meals are organic and locally sourced, and we serve fair trade coffee. It's eco-assured, and we're giving you beautiful, wonderful smells in the areas that we fly over. So there's a bit of everything in there.
So this is a real, this is not a...
No, this is not real.
Okay.
No, although there are some airlines that spring to mind when I look at this. And I look at some of the marketing. I've recently booked some flights with Wizz Air, and they've got some bit of greenwash going on. And Air Berlin have a bit of greenwash going on for a while, although they've taken it out. KLM are not so good, let me tell you. They have quite a bit of greenwash still going on. Anyway, this isn't a tourism example, but this is a real life example of a company that's very carefully making sure that it isn't greenwashing. So it's a company called Travelife, and their shoes are made out of reclaimed leather. They describe it here somewhere. Our beautiful shoes are made from reclaimed leather and 100% recycled materials, so there's no hidden impact behind the hide. You might not get that, it's a bit of a play on words, because the hide is the skin of an animal and it's the leather. Okay? We do not use PVC, and our products are entirely free of toxic contaminants like cadmium and lead residues. All of this is traceable, it's all truthful, it's relevant to the product. Now you can feel as good about your shoes as you look in them. Okay? There's the eco label. It's a bona fide eco label. You could go on the website and find the company if you chose to do that, so it's substantiated. They even give you a web address down here, and to be honest, there's nothing about that that isn't credible. Okay? So those were some of the don'ts, the green washes. Now these are some of the do's. You really do need to spend a lot of time emphasising to people how close the relationship is between quality and sustainability, because actually the two go hand in hand. And there's a very good reason for that, and the reason is that it motivates people, so they perform better, they do a better job, they don't generally cut corners, because it all fits together quite nicely. Things work in the right order, and everything just gets better. It's a win-win situation. Thomas Cook, second largest tour operator globally, has done quite a bit of research on this, in fact, and their quality scores show a direct relationship with the places that people stay. So if they look at the customers who are rating their accommodations in the high 90s, and they go back and look at those accommodations, they've all got Travelife awards or similar certifications. They're all sustainable properties. So they do go very much hand in hand. It's important that you remember what we talked about yesterday with the consumer research. You don't need to use the words sustainability and green to convey a feeling of luxury and quality. You can use other ways of doing that. It's more about the experience. That's the thing that makes people see it as better market value and higher quality. So you can talk about the cultural experience, how authentic something is, how you will go back with a long-lasting memory of a unique visit to hidden treasures. And use these descriptive languages. These are the things that convey this feeling of actually it's superior. Here are just a few tips. Anything that is boring is not worth talking about. So for instance, as we'll see a bit later after coffee, when we do the exercise on USPs, whenever hotels achieve a Travelife award, we give them an opportunity to go and put their hotel in the Travelife collection, an online marketing channel for sustainable hotels. But we ask them to compile 6 USPs, and we ask them to try and make these sustainable. And you would be gobsmacked at some of the things that people put in their USPs that they think is going to sell their hotel. Composting toilets. I mean, why on earth? It is sustainable. It's a sustainable thing. But it isn't going to sell a hotel, is it? You wouldn't choose a hotel based upon the fact that when you sit on this seat, there's just nothing underneath except a pile of compost. So you've got to make it interesting. Be creative, imaginative, use things that are going to capture people's imagination and make them want to go. Use normal marketing tools and just make them more sustainable. Sustainability isn't a replacement, it's a tool to enhance something, it's making it better. Make it real fun for people. How can they be involved in things? Things that people do have a longer lasting impression and they see that as higher quality. Things that you tell people are not so valued. Now then, if you don't go away with anything else of these 2 days, please keep your ears open, to this, because this is really important. Consumers in Europe, this doesn't fit everywhere, but generally in Europe, consumers fall into three groups. They sit into a group which are called ethical consumers. These are people who live ethical lifestyle. So wherever possible, they actively look for and choose sustainability in everything they do. So they recycle at home. When they buy, go out shopping, they buy fair trade products, organic products, local products. When they travel, they choose very sustainable forms of travel. They'll go on a train before they'll get into a car. They'll walk to the corner shop to fetch a newspaper. They won't get in a car. They do all of this. And when they're looking for somewhere to go on holiday, they'll look for sustainability in there as well. So they're ethical. They only, however, form about 5 to 10% of the market in Europe. So if you are thinking, the way forward for me is to become and market myself as a sustainable tour operator, and you don't pitch the right messages, and you're going to try and attract these, then you're missing out on 90% or 95% of the market. Because sadly, the rest of them are not looking for it. So you're wasting your effort. These people, the feel-goods, these people will play the game, providing that you make it exciting and interesting and show them how to do it. In other words, you have to make it understandable. And if it's relevant, they'll actually do it for you. They'll, you know, remember the research yesterday, people are prepared to do some environmental things if it's made easy for them. Well, these are these feel-good people. And that's quite exciting. But it means that you can't use words like sustainable holidays, green, these sorts of things, because they don't relate to them. So you've got to use the words like cultural experiences, authentic, historical, nature, you know, using real things that they can relate to. These are about 60%. So this is the bulk of the market. So creating a niche product isn't probably a good idea, realistically, because you're limiting who's going to buy it. It's better, perhaps, to pitch at these people and do something that will then address these. And what about these poor souls at the bottom? Well, there's no hope for these, because these people are not interested. And the reason why is because maybe they live really busy, hectic lives, and you know, they don't care really, because they just want to, as it says, switch off. So they go on holiday and they don't want you to be talking to them, they don't get any information, they don't go to welcome meetings, they don't do anything. They're very self-absorbed and you can't do anything about them. Nothing. It's not even worth the effort trying to convince them to do something, because they'll just say no. And if you try to do that, they'll never come back with you. You've lost a customer. So you leave them alone. And for these people, you've got to do it for them. So whatever they do, you have to make it sustainable without them even knowing. It just happens. And this is important because you've got to know the different types of customer that you're aiming for. In most places that I go and do this training to, because I work mainly for the Dutch government, on their, what's called their CBI expert coaching program. And after the 2 days, I then spend 1 hour with each individual company that's attended the training, so that can take up to 3 or 4 days sometimes, and we go through their plan and how they're going to be working on sustainability, and that's my contract with the Dutch government. This comes into those discussions almost every single time, because some of those businesses are marketing themselves in these niche markets and they're complaining about the fact that they've got no customers. Well, it's hardly surprising considering the fact that you're sending this out to try and hit 100% of customers, but actually there's only 5 to 10% who are the slightest bit interested in what you've got to offer. They're going through the wrong marketing channels. Then you've got some companies who are very good at packaging sustainability, but they're selling it through mainstream tour operators who target these people. These people don't even look at the mainstream tour operators' products because they can't be bothered spending the time to try and find the sustainable products. And they only sell via these tour operator partners, and they're complaining that they never get any business off them. Well, that's hardly surprising because they're not the right customers. They should be channeling their efforts in some other marketing channel to hit these people. Do you get it? You really need to spend some time on this when you go back and think, who are we trying to hit and how are we going to do it? So, why are you telling them about sustainability? Well, in the main, all of these groups, you know, they want to feel good. Even the switch-offs like to feel good. So whatever you do, if they feel good about it, it's going to happen. It's going to be taken care of. Tell people that you've done it for them. They don't have to think. You know, there's an assumption actually, historically, that tour operators have been doing that for donkey's years. Just because people aren't the ethical consumer doesn't mean that they don't appreciate it. They do. If they feel good, the 60%, you know, they'll want to do it if you can help them, show them how to do it, make it plain and easy. This is important because one of the, I wouldn't say it's a priority, but one of the indicators of a company that really gets sustainability is that they go the extra mile and they spread the news elsewhere, that they're helping to raise the level of awareness, you know, in society so that we help everybody to become more sustainable, because it's all good, so there's something in it for everybody. So this is actually about showing people that you really have got it in your head. You're not just doing it for altruistic reasons. Be careful how much you put out there. You know, if you put out too much, people just get confused, they get bombarded by messages. So make it simple, okay? Just a few messages. Participating is really good for people. You know, people can go and pick their own food or actively take part in some projects, making them feel really special. If they're in the middle of the experience, if they actually go and they plant a tree that's offsetting their travel, that's amazing because they've actually done it themselves. If you then follow that up later with a photograph of the tree that's now grown a little bit, it's an opportunity for you to then market something new to them. You know, it's some amazing things that people do. Well, that's how I often see this. This is really nice, actually. We are people like you with the same values. That's why you'll enjoy being here. There's something really sustainable about that message. Now, we looked at customer communication this morning, and it's a very similar story here, because we looked at how you tell them what you do, and this is about how you now involve them in the process. But it's the same channels, it's the same media, so we can breeze through this because you're just looking at exactly what you do with people anyway. You write stories, tell people about the good things that you've done. Never miss an opportunity, because a good news story lasts forever. Put it onto your website in a sort of a history of the company or whatever, so people can, you know, some people want to look at that, they'll spend time browsing through it. Makes a huge difference. Any awards that you've got, make sure they're up there. I'm often very surprised. I mean, it happens more with hotels because more hotels have got awards than tour operators. But there's so many hotels that achieve Travelife Gold Awards. They never put them on the website. They're never communicated. Well, they're just missing out on that 5 to 10%. Because if they haven't got it there, that 5 to 10% ain't going to book in that hotel. So you've just wiped out a proportion of your target audience just by a simple you know, logo missing off a website. That's crazy. If you've got something, make it work for you, otherwise what was the point in doing it in the first place? You use your website, social media, Facebook. Remember, if you're using Facebook, make sure it's up to date, because it gives out the wrong messages otherwise. Third-party websites are good as well, but again, information that's given to these guys stays there for a long time until you update it. So it can soon also become out of date, and some of these can be costly. So you've got to really think, is the amount of money that I'm paying to these going to give me some return on that in terms of bookings? And you should be marketing constantly. Same then. You've got the same opportunity to discuss these things with people at each stage of the journey. It's exactly the same as we looked at this morning.